Hello and welcome. You're watching The Mint. I'm Andy Hodges. This is ZTN Prime broadcasting to you from our studios in Harare, Zimbabwe. Today on The Mint. So are you looking to invest in Zimbabwe is my question. Well, according to experts and the Zimbabwe investment ZIDA, look at me, my brain went mild there. ZIDA, public-private partnerships or PPPs may just be the most effective long-term and lucrative way to do so. According to the Science Direct Journal, PPPs constitute an important mechanism to govern the transactions involved in the development and operation of huge infrastructure projects from different sectors such as energy, water, transport, or information and communication technologies, ICT. Zimbabweans are now apparently turning to tuck shops to buy basic goods as an alternative to shopping in large retail shops in the formal economy. The question is, why? Well, United States dollar prices of goods in formal retail shops are currently trading at, listen to this, 40 to 80% above the US dollar prices in downtown tuck shops or downtown establishments. This, of course, does have an impact on the prices of the same goods in Zimbabwe dollars in formal outlets. Today on The Mint, we bring you the full story. Now, what are cooperatives and do they still exist in Zimbabwe? Well, the answer is yes, they do. Cooperatives in the country fall under 7 categories, and these are housing cooperatives, fishing, manufacturing, agriculture, services, which includes transport and catering, savings and credit cooperatives, and mining cooperatives. Today on The Mint, we speak to Martha Mazviza, the CEO of Central Association of Cooperatives Union, and Tejaswi Tanjore, the Sales Vice President of Techurate, on how Zimbabwean cooperatives are leveraging banking solutions to access finance and become more efficient. And as usual on The Mint, our daily look at market prices in Zimbabwe, Africa, and worldwide. Don't go away, The Mint. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching The Mint, and this is ZTN Prime. So as I said in my opening, are you looking to invest in Zimbabwe? Well, according to experts and ZIDA, public-private partnerships or PPPs may just be the most effective, long-term and lucrative way to do so. Public-private partnerships have grown in the last decades, especially in developing countries. According to the Science Direct Journal, PPPs constitute an important mechanism to govern the transactions involved in the development and operation of huge infrastructure projects from different sectors, such as energy, water, transport, or ICT. In Zimbabwe, Section 34 of the 4th Schedule of the ZIDA Act provides a framework for governing PPPs in the country. Now, speaking to journalists at the media engagement workshop, ZIDA head of project development, Taurai Duku, said PPPs involve large investments that can put a strain on the public purse.
The fiscus is most of the time everywhere constrained. So PPPs, they are coming in to play a role where the public purse is constrained. And most of the projects that we undertake as PPPs, they are large projects. They require a lot of money. So we need to make sure that we come up with arrangements where we can bring in the private party to be able to perform a function that we are not able to perform for a benefit that they see. So they are increasingly being used everywhere in the world, not only in the developing world, but also in the developed nations.
Now, Taurai added that the most favorable project proposals for PPP for the government of Zimbabwe and contracting authorities, or CAs, are the solicited ones. Those are the ones where ZIDA approves a feasibility study and the contracting authority prepares a request for the proposal. In other words, they're solicited. It's about how the contracting authority or the government unit or department or councils even actually go out and ask for partners to partner themselves in PPPs.
Those that are solicited come when a contracting authority actually identifies the need on their own. These are the preferable ones. Because if somebody comes to you having identified what you need, and then they tell you that I want to do this for you, most of the time, there is something that they are hiding from you, something that you are not seeing. No one is not just there to give money for free. So we prefer that we solicit our own proposals. Let's see where the need is, and then we identify the projects that can be implemented as a PP. We develop a project proposal by means of a pre-feasibility study, then it comes to ZIDA.
Now, there are what are called unsolicited project proposals made and received without the request of the contracting authority, which is normally government, as I said, or local authorities, but at the initiation of the counterparty, someone who believes they've spotted the gap in an opportunity. These are still referred to ZIDA. Now, Zimbabwe boasts of a number of successful PPP projects, which include the New Limpopo Bridge, the Beitbridge-Bulawayo Railways, the Newlands Bypass, the Plumtree-Harare-Mutare Road Rehabilitation, and the upgrading and modernization of the Beitbridge border post. Another investment category under the purview of ZIDA, according to Duku, are special economic zones, or SEZs, which exist to attract investments in particular regions of the country by offering fiscal and non-fiscal incentives.
Whenever a place is designated as an SEZ, Special Economic Zone, it must be identified by proper GPS coordinates. It must be on a land that is titled and not disputed. It must demonstrate that there is going to be business that will boom out of that zone, and it must meet the requirements of the ZIDA Act and the regulations. As Teresa indicated, new regulations are going to come on board that will govern the operations of SEZ. So when we are considering applications for SEZ, Special Economic Zones, those are very important considerations. The degree of export orientation or import substitution, the promotion of the industrialization of the domestic economy, skills and technology transfer, employment creation, value addition and beneficiation, environmental impacts, or any other appropriate considerations that we deem fit. Very important. If these things are being demonstrated in an application, it's something that we then consider.
Let's understand what ZIDA's role is. ZIDA's role is, on behalf of the government of Zimbabwe, to grant investment licenses and monitor activities of approved investments. Public sector SEZs in Zimbabwe include Fernhill in Mutare, Vumila, Donington, Kelvin and Western Dale in Bulawayo, Masuwe in Victoria Falls, and Sunway City in Rua.
Then we also have the private or business-specific SEZs. That's where you have your EcoSoft, Norton Business Park, Konyeni Agri-Business Park, Maroon Beverages, Trauma Medical Center, Trade Kings, Zimborders, Prospect Lithium. By the way, there's an official opening of PLZ today, and Afroshin Smelting, Caro Holdings. So they also come as private or business specific.
Now, both PPPs and investing or setting up a business in special economic zones appear to be viable alternatives and paths for investors and for Zimbabwe to boost foreign investment and development into the country. And I must say, the savvy foreign investor appears to have discovered this. Zimbabweans are now apparently turning to tuck shops to buy basic goods as an alternative to shopping in large retail shops in the formal economy. The question is why? Well, United States dollar prices in formal retail shops are currently trading at between 40 to 80% premiums from informal tuck shops, or what we call in Zimbabwe downtown. And of course, this has an impact on the attendant price of those products in Zimbabwe dollars. Tupeo Muleya and Iban Mabunda brings us the following report.
There is a hive of activity in downtown Harare, where it is that you find scores of tuck shops that fall under the SME category. This, as urban as well as non-urban dwellers seek basic commodities that are relatively more affordable than, of course, in the conventional retail as well as wholesale outlets across the country.
So that tokwanisa kuita sei kutengesera vanhu saka muchiona vanhu vacho vakawanda kuzitenga kuno.
Basic goods ana flour, mafuta neshuga. Nezvimwe zvingoshandisa mudzimba.
nekuti tisu tinotoagadzira togadzira mabhuku togadzira maflat files togadzira maflip charts togadzira zvakawanda zvestationary tiri kutogadzira saka tinotolowa maprizes edu kuitira kuti tikasike kutenderedza tinosuplya maretail shops tinosuplya matuck shop tosuplya vanouya vachingotengawo pano tosuplya kwese but tikakwidza maprizes tinoona kuti zvinhu zvononoka kutengwa.
Magrocery akachipa magroceries akachipa kupfuura mashops mahombe kana ari mabhuku they are very cheap kupfuura futi mashop mahombe nemamwe makambani mahombe akaita sona rank nechichi asi kunoku anenge akachipa zvakafanana nemabhuku atotengesa isusu vanhu vanotohodha vachitoenda kana kunana Bulawayo Gweru Kwekwe Gokwe vachiye vachihodha from us.
Consumer trends show that customers prefer getting their goods from the tuck shops downtown. Here, they get more bang for buck, but the only catch is they charge exclusively in US dollars.
Having looked at all these products that they are consuming, we then looked at where are they actually buying these products? What is your main grocery outlet? And boom, your tuck shops. Phenomenal growth in this. I think I actually expected more than 31%, but it has actually grown from 20% to 31%.
After visiting scores of tuck shops in downtown Harare, ZTN Prime visited various retail outlets across Harare for price comparison. Our investigations showed prices in retail outlets were 40 to 80% higher than at the tuck shops. Retailers now say retail prices are still reflective of the speculative behavior on the market.
Pricing in the formal channel has largely been determined by the speculative behavior owing to the exchange rate instability that was obtaining on the market before the stability that the economy is beginning to enjoy now.
In the face of currency instability and a blended inflation rate which hit 175% in June, Treasury removed taxes and duties on imports of basic commodities. Now manufacturers say tuck shops can price lower than retailers and manufacturers because of compliance-related issues.
And I think the second thing to take into account is also the business model in that sector, that is the tuck shops or the informal sector. They don't pay taxes, they don't have overheads as the formal retail does. For your own information, the formal businesses in Zimbabwe, on average, about 18 to 20% of their costs are regulatory costs and compliance costs. So already they are at a disadvantage if you compare them with these guys. They even employ, in the formal sector, you even employ somebody to take care of the regulations and compliance issues, which the informal sector or the tuck shops actually don't have to do.
With, of course, the multiple exchange rates that are playing out in Zimbabwe, price distortions and arbitrage activities may remain in place in the foreseeable future. And with that, the rational citizen will, of course, buy where their money gives them more value. Ibn Mabunda for ZTN Prime.
All right, I want to break this down for you. I just want to make just two comparisons to give you an idea of what we're talking about. Let's talk about one boiled egg. Now, one boiled egg in a formal supermarket will cost you about $1 United States dollar. In fact, it's about $1.10. If you go downtown, for $1 US dollar, you can buy 2 boiled eggs and a bun. Now, what about this one? What about mealie meal? Now, mealie meal at formal shops retails for $7 United States dollars 60 cents. If you go down to a tuck shop, the same 10 kg bag of mealie meal costs you $3 US dollars 50. That's an incredible gap between the two markets, the formal and the informal sector. Look, sure, governance costs that account for 20% of formal business expenses have an impact on the price of the product. So do issues such as staff costs, fuel, storage, all the attendant costs that you have in a formal business, which informal sectors don't have to comply with. In fact, the ZIDA Chief Executive Officer Sakai Kubarika explained that quite well in that piece. But there still does appear to be some form of forward pricing or inflating United States dollar prices, so that formal shops can either receive more US dollars to hedge themselves against replacement, of course, way much more US dollars. If you looked at that number, what I said, $3.50 compared to $7.60 for the same 10 kg bag of mealie meal. Or if they convert that higher US dollar cost at the official rate, they will get a parallel market Zimbabwe dollar price, which allows them to, in their minds, be able to replace the products when they want to. So once again, it appears that those earning Zimbabwe dollars in Zimbabwe are now forced to go back onto the parallel market to buy United States dollars, because the price disparity is so high between formal and informal that it's actually worth your while to go and buy US dollars in the parallel market and use those dollars to go and buy your goods downtown in the tuck shops. If I may say so, that is completely ridiculous. Well, that's time for us to take a breather. After the break, Zimbabwe cooperatives leverage on technology for funding. Don't go away, The Mint. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching The Mint. This is ZTN Prime, and I'm Andy Hodges. And we, of course, are broadcasting to you from our studios in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare. What are cooperatives, and do they still exist in Zimbabwe? Well, the answer is yes, they do. Cooperatives in the country fall under 7 categories, and these are the housing cooperatives, fishing, manufacturing, agriculture, services, which include transport and catering, savings and credit cooperatives, and mining cooperatives. For decades, cooperatives and SACCOs, which are savings and credit cooperative societies, have provided funding for thousands of small business owners in Zimbabwe and, in fact, Africa. Now, Zimbabwe's Central Association of Cooperatives Union, CACU, and TechUrate, a digital solutions firm, are assisting Zimbabwean cooperatives with digital financing solutions. The Mint's Eben Mabunda spoke to Martha Maziva, the CEO of CACU, and Tejaswi Tanjore, the sales vice president of TechUrate.
A cooperative is an entity, and it can be formulated in an agricultural cooperative, in a housing cooperative, in a SACCO, which stands for Savings and Credit Cooperative. In the Eastern Africa, they are now called financial cooperatives.
Right. I will relay this one to you, Tejaswi. How important is the incorporation of technology where the operations of SACCOs and cooperatives, as you clearly defined, orally?
Well, Eben, I think technology forms the foundation for any cooperative society segment to flourish. I come from Kenya, and my country of origin is India. You know, it's a fact that 70% of Africa's economy is controlled by cooperative societies. And if you look at Zimbabwe or certain surrounding countries, especially in Zimbabwe, the adoption of technology is very minimal or zero. And it's very critical, which basically results in lack of growth and lack of right contribution as per the potential which may exist in the cooperative sector. In Kenya, for example, there are certain cooperative societies who have grown so big that they have gone ahead and purchased some of the banks. So technology constitutes the foundation for any cooperative society. Maybe if I can put an analogy, I can say like a smartphone is a basic human right of an individual in today's world, we believe that technology is the foundation for any cooperative society.
Right. Let's talk about the spread of those institutions in Zimbabwe and how they've been instrumental in the different sectors of this particular economy.
We have almost 31,000 SACCOs registered in Zimbabwe, spread in all 10 provinces. And these SACCOs have contributed a lot to the economy of Zimbabwe because the SACCOs encourages members to save, and members can be able to borrow from their savings on a very low interest rate, which at the end of the day can be an advantage to the cooperative. Members can be able to fund their agricultural projects. The members can be able to fund their small business. Members can be able to fund their housing construction, and also if members in the housing sector have given a virgin land, through their contribution, they can also be able to service the land because of the initial thing in cooperative is to save the little you have. For example, if I've got 7,000 members, these 7,000 members save $10 a month. I've got $700, which is a deposit to the members to borrow and do their own personal businesses.
Right. You mentioned there being a template, of course, in Kenya, where cooperatives have developed to such an extent that they've acquired banks and several other institutions. What would be the crucial elements in the development and growth of these cooperatives to then perform such feats?
Good question, Eben. A cooperative society is when you look at the functionalities or when you look at the activities that a typical cooperative society like Kaku performs, they perform almost all the activities that a bank typically performs. You know, you onboard a customer, you enable members to save, you give loans. However, these are easily approachable loans or societies or organizations for the members. If I need to pay my daughter's education fees, school fees, or if I need to purchase some of the produce, it is the cooperative societies that we go. So when I come back to question, when you look at Kenya, as I said, you know, they perform like a mini bank and technology plays a major role. So here in Zimbabwe, what we are trying to do, when you look at the current scenario, most of the cooperative societies do not have any solution. And that's where introduction of a very global, world-class, robust solution will enable and equip all the cooperative societies like Kaku to have wings and grow like it has grown in Kenya.
Right. Funding is one of the key issues that are of concern to businesses, not just in Zimbabwe, but also on the continent. How do cooperatives, by and large, bridge this particular divide?
Thank you for that question. Cooperatives, as I've alluded before, that they do the savings. And the savings creates the funding. For example, in 2012, the Kaku introduced what we call SACCOs within its members, and it enables them to save and fund its agricultural cooperatives. For example, if we approach a bank or a supplier of agricultural inputs, we must showcase that we have got our own funding, which can be contributed 50% of the funding we want. Then we can be able to bridge the gap where the SACCOs can be able to provide inputs for their members through their own savings and through their own monies, which is not without heavy or those rates which are so discriminatory, because the members are the ones who choose. We want to charge our monies at such rate, very low rates, and be able to do their own business freely, independently, without any problems. And also the suppliers of inputs have get comfort in saving them, because they know they've got a bankable platform where all members contribute into one pot to form a huge amount of money which they can fund all their projects.
Right. With this particular concept, across Africa, it's been implemented in South Africa, Zimbabwe, East African countries, by and large, and even some European players in Turkey and other countries have also realized enormous growth through these sort of initiatives. To what extent does technology become instrumental, and how do you as an organization play within that matrix to enhance the growth of the cooperatives across the continent?
Thank you.
Okay, good question, Eben. We believe what we are envisaging to do, to digitalize most of the cooperative societies in Zimbabwe by providing a very affordable solution at the, I would say, the most optimum price, if I may say cheapest price as well, which becomes easily affordable for all the cooperatives. This results in true financial inclusion. This results in true last mileage reach out to the person sitting in somewhere remote part of Africa. I also see Africa as a very exciting market. Africa is where a lot of innovations are happening. The first digital money was introduced in Kenya, right? Before anybody thought about digital money or mobile money or UPIs, the country where I come from, this was already a thing of past in the Kenya. EcoCash, for example, or any other kind of mobile money in Zimbabwe is so rampant that most of the population easily use EcoCash. So why can't there be another ecosystem which actually enables the unbanked people, unbanked population to become banked by using a very affordable but truly world-class technology, which is what we provide.
You talked about an ecosystem. What would be crucial in the development of that kind of an ecosystem?
Anyways, if you look at any part of the world, the reason why Europe or Middle East or any other part of the world, if you look at the India where I come from, technology plays the crucial role for the growth of the ecosystem, for evolution of the ecosystem, right? And that is what is lacking currently in Zimbabwe. But Zimbabwe being such a fantastic country, 3 million members which are unbanked. When I say unbanked, they don't have access to real-time banking system. They don't have access to technology-based cooperative society system. Imagine, it's such a fantastic story to reach out to 3 million people who constitute more than 50% of Zimbabwe's economy. We are bringing some method to madness. And I believe it's such an exciting story.
Right. The agricultural sector is a crucial one to Zimbabwe's economy, providing and generating over 8% to Zimbabwe's GDP over the years. Now, can you speak to us to the operations of CACO and how it is that you are bringing together players in the agricultural sector to ensure that they receive the adequate funding and they can contribute meaningfully to Zimbabwe's economy?
Thank you. As CACO, we are working with farmers, the rural farmers, the commercial farmers, the small-scale farmers. We provide for the farmers in contract.
I must be honest, that was a very interesting interview. It's interesting that, sometimes you learn things that you don't know about cooperatives. Now, Kaku has a membership of 465,000. And from this membership, 15,000 members are registered SACCOs. Now, such utilization of digital mainstream banking services and technologies not only brings banking to the unbanked, it increases financial literacy and within cooperatives and allows them to manage their finances and, more importantly, their businesses. Well, that's it for today's episode of The Mint. Of course, you can watch The Mint every weekday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday and Friday at 2 p.m. Central African time. And of course, Wednesday, it's Beat the Market, the only show in Zimbabwe that deep dives into the world of equities, markets and finance. I, of course, will see you, as I do pretty much every weekday morning at 6 a.m. for Morning Rush. I'm Andy Hodges. Goodbye, and please, you all be safe.